All right, this is Walk Two Moons, chapter 44, the last chapter, Bybanks. We're back in Bybanks now. My father and I are living on our farm again, and Gramps is living with us. Graham is buried in the aspen grove where she and Gramps were married. We miss our gooseberry every single day. Lately, I've been wondering if there might be something hidden behind the fireplace, because just as the fireplace was behind the plaster wall, and my mother's story was behind Phoebe's, I think there was a third story behind Phoebe's, and my mother's, and that was about Graham and Gramps. On the day after Graham was buried, her friend Gloria, the one who Gramps thought so much like Phoebe, and the one who had a hankering for Gramps, came to visit Gramps. They sat on our porch while Gramps talked about Graham for 4 hours straight. Gloria asked if we had any aspirin. She had a grand headache. We have not seen her since. I wrote to Tom Fleet, the boy who helped Graham when the snake took the snack out of her leg. I told him that Graham had made it back to Bybanks, but unfortunately she came in a coffin. I described the aspen grove where she was buried and told him about the river nearby. He wrote back saying that he was sorry about Graham and maybe he'd come and visit the aspen grove someday. Then he asked, "Is your riverbank private property?" Gramps is giving me more driving lessons in the pickup truck. We practiced over Gramps' old farm where the new owner lets us clonk around on the dirt roads. With us rides Gramps' new beagle puppy, which he named Huzzah Huzzah. Gramps pets the puppy and smokes his pipe as I drive, and we both play the moccasin game. It's a game we made up on our way back from Idaho. We take turns pretending we're walking in someone else's moccasins. If I were walking in Phoebe's moccasins, I'd be jealous of a new brother dropping out of the sky. If I were in Graham's moccasins right this minute, I'd want to cool my feet in that river over there. If I were walking in Ben's moccasins, I'd miss Salamanca Hiddle. On and on we go. We walk in everybody's moccasins, and we've discovered some interesting things that way. One day I realized that our whole trip to Lewiston had been a gift from Graham and Gramps to me. They were giving me a chance to walk on my mother's moccasins, to see what she had seen and feel what she had felt on her trip. I also realized that there were lots of reasons why my father didn't take me to Idaho when he got the news of her death. He was too grief-stricken. He was trying to spare me. Only later did he understand that I had to go and see for myself. He was right about one thing, though. We didn't need to bring her body back because she is in the trees, the barn, and the fields. Gramps is different. He needs Graham right here. He needs to walk out to that aspen grove to see his gooseberry. One afternoon after we'd been talking about Prometheus stealing fire from the sun to give to man, and about Pandora opening the forbidden box with all the evils of the world in it, Gramps said that those myths evolved because people needed a way to explain where fire came from and why there was evil in the world. That made me think of Phoebe and the lunatic, and I said, if I were walking in Phoebe's moccasins, I'd have to believe in a lunatic and an axe-wielding Mrs. Cadaver to explain my mother's disappearance. Phoebe and her family helped me, I think. They helped me to think about and understand my own mother. Phoebe's tales were like fishing in the air. For a while, I needed to believe that my mother was not dead and she would come back. I still fish in the air sometimes. It seems to me that we can't explain all the truly awful things in the world, like war and murder and brain tumors, and we can't fix those things. So we look at the frightening things that are closer to us, and we magnify them until they burst open. Inside is something that we can manage, something that isn't awful as it had first seemed. It is a relief to discover that although there might be an axe murderers and kidnappers in the world, most people seem a lot like us. Sometimes afraid, and sometimes brave, sometimes cruel, and sometimes kind. I decided that bravery is looking Pandora's box full in the eyes as best you can, then turning to the other box, the one with the smooth, beautiful folds inside. Mama kissing trees, Graham saying huzzah, huzzah, Gramps in his marriage bed. My mother's postcards and her hair are still beneath the floorboards in my room. I reread all the postcards when I came home. Graham and Gramps and I had been to every place my mother had. There are the Black Hills, Mount Rushmore, the Badlands. The only card that is still hard for me to read is the one from Coeur d'Alene, the one that I received 2 days after she died. When I drive Gramps around in his truck, I also tell him the stories my mother told me. His favorite is the Navajo one about Estalehi. She's a woman who never dies. She grows from a baby to a mother to an old woman and then turns into a baby again, and on she goes, living 1,000 lives. Gramps likes this, and so do I. I still climb the sugar maple tree, and I've heard the tree singing. The sugar maple tree is my thinking place. Yesterday in the sugar maple tree, I realized that I was jealous of 3 things. The first jealousy is a foolish one. I'm jealous of whoever Ben wrote about in his journal because it wasn't me. The second jealousy is this. I'm jealous that my mother had wanted more children. Wasn't I enough? When I walked in her moccasins, though, I say, if I were my mother, I might want more children, and not because I don't love my Salamanca, but because I love her so much. I want more of these. Maybe that's a fish in the air, and maybe it isn't, but it's what I want to believe. The last jealousy is not foolish, nor is it one that will go away just yet. I'm still jealous that Phoebe's mother came back and mine did not. I miss my mother. Ben and Phoebe write me all the time. Ben sent me a Valentine in the middle of October that said, "Roses are red, dirt is brown. Please be my Valentine or else I'll frown." There was a P.S. added, "I've never written poetry before." Then I sent a Valentine back that said, "Dry as the desert, wet as the rain. Your love for me is not in vain." I added a P.S. and said, "I've never written poetry either." Ben and Phoebe and Mrs. Cadaver and Mrs. Partridge are all coming to visit next month. There's a chance that Mr. Berkway might come as well, but Phoebe hopes not, as she doesn't think she could stand to be in the car for that long with her teacher. My father and I have been scrubbing the house for their visit. I can't wait to show Phoebe and Ben the swimming hole in the fields, the hayloft and the trees, the cows and the chickens. Blackberry the chicken that Ben gave me is the queen of the coop, and I'll show Ben her too. But for now, Gramps has his beagle and a chicken and a singing tree, and that's the way it is. Huzzah, huzzah.